Yeah, good morning, guys, and welcome back to a new week. And in today's class, we'll be talking about Bootstrap, and Bootstrap is simply making is a mobile first responsive design platform which you can use to build a website with ease without having to think of responsiveness and some other form of JavaScript, basically. So for Bootstrap is also a CSS framework which you use to build websites. So for Bootstrap, what you just have to do is you go to the Bootstrap website, you copy the components you want, because Bootstrap is actually component based, unlike Tailwind CSS. Tailwind CSS is somewhat component based, but Tailwind CSS gives you some kind of flexibilities that Bootstrap does not give you. And such flexibilities includes you styling the element to how you want to make it to be like, such as your padding, your margin. But for Bootstrap is kind of rigid and it restricts your movement to some of the things you can do. So for the first step, I wrote here, what is Bootstrap? Bootstrap is actually a free open source CSS framework, pre-built CSS classes for common style need, JavaScript components for interaction, responsive grid layout system, consistent design pattern across development, mobile first approach for development. So for all this, JavaScript also come with some, I said JavaScript, Bootstrap also come with some inbuilt JavaScript that you can actually use, such as in the previous, if you have watched the responsive design class that was uploaded few days ago, you will have seen that I worked with a navigation bar, but I could not toggle it open and close, simply because for you to have an interaction on your website, you have to work with JavaScript. Basically, JavaScript is one of the most essential tools that you would need for interaction on your website. So but for Bootstrap, you don't need to worry yourself about those interactions, because on the long run, it has already been embedded into Bootstrap. What you just have to do is copy the components, paste it into your code, and you are good to go. So what are the key benefits? Faster development time, consistency, and professional approach. Sometimes some websites have been built with. I think I have a website I built with Bootstrap. So this is a website I actually built with Bootstrap. If I told you that I built this with Bootstrap, you wouldn't know until I tell you. It also makes it look very professional and how it can be. So Bootstrap is actually, if you want to build fast, you want to build more optimally, you don't have a lot of time, one of the things you could just do is use Bootstrap to start building. That's why it says faster development time. With Bootstrap, I think that website that I showed you, I built it on a Sunday night with in less than 6 hours. I had to build it with Bootstrap. So, but if I was writing my normal code, my normal HTML, my normal CSS, it would take me longer time. But with Bootstrap, I just copy the components, I paste it into my Visual Studio Code, and I edit it to what I want it to look like, and it gives me what I want. So cross-browser compatibility. So with the development of Bootstrap, there is cross browser compatibility. So what works on it works on every website on any browser without you having to change some things here and there. That is it. So how do you get started with Bootstrap? So let's go to the Bootstrap website. So there are two ways of getting started with Bootstrap. So Bootstrap 5. So there is Bootstrap 2, there's Bootstrap 3, there's Bootstrap 4. and there's Bootstrap 5. So the latest version now is Bootstrap 5.02. The latest is Bootstrap 5.2.x, but based on the current support that is available now, we would be using Bootstrap 5.2.0, Bootstrap 5.0.2. So how do you get started with Bootstrap? So everything you need about Bootstrap is simply that what makes Bootstrap very easy is that everything you need for Bootstrap, what you just simply have to do is come to your documentation, come to the documentation of Bootstrap, and you can just read it. You can just read Bootstrap. Sorry, please, are we all following?
Following, sir.
All right, thank you. So for Bootstrap, what you simply have to do is you don't need to, like I always say, you don't need to cron anything. What you just simply have to do is come to the components you need. It's all component based. Come to the documentation. That's why as a developer, it is always important and it is always necessary that you read the documentation of every technology you want to work with. So there's always a documentation for Bootstrap. And there are two ways of getting started with Bootstrap. And in this class, this is what we will be building with Bootstrap. We will simply be building this with Bootstrap, and it's very much easier for us to build with Bootstrap because every other thing that we have right here, Bootstrap also, one of the advantages of Bootstrap is it reduces the amount of CSS that we are going to write on the long run for us. It reduces the amount of CSS that we are going to write. So what that simply does is that, okay, as you can see that before this class, I have written some pre CSS for us, and this is what we have. This is the full project that was built with Bootstrap basically, and we have the representation on the screen right here. This is the full representation, and if we check responsiveness, it is fully responsive across all screen sizes. And if I toggle this button, it is closed and it's opening and what have you. So that's the simple benefits of Bootstrap. Bootstrap across all screen sizes, across all, let me also check other screen sizes, such as, let me look for a tablet. So as you can see on a tablet screen also, it also looks very good. So, and this is simply what we'll be replicating in today's class. And I hope we'll be able to build it from start to finish. I'm really hopeful we can do that, but if we can't, I'll find a way of recording the many section that is left for it, and we just move on with that. So I'm going to be doing some kind of copy and pasting, but that's just going to be like for like all these images, every image that we need, I'm just going to do some copy and pasting. That's why I have it on the other side of my screen. So like I made mention of, there are various ways of getting started with Bootstrap. And the first thing is you can use a CDN, which is the best appropriate way. The best appropriate way is you simply copying this URL. You can see, just copy this CSS URL. Once you copy this CSS URL, copy it and paste it at the head section, just like your CSS, just like the way you have for your CSS. You can always copy it and paste it right here, and you pasting it there. That's only what you need for Bootstrap to work. And for you to be able to work with Bootstrap, you have to be connected to the internet. Please, you have to be connected to the internet because you don't have the file directly on your system. It is hosted somewhere else, and you are just connecting to it through this URL. That's simply what you are doing. You're just connecting with it with this URL, and it needs this thing. It needs the internet to be able to work as it should do. So that's the first one. And also for the JavaScript, you just have to copy the same JavaScript right from here. And once you copy the JavaScript, you paste it at the bottom of your screen, not bottom of your screen, rather at the bottom of your body. That's the last line before the last line before the closing tag of your body, that's where you write your JavaScript. And along the line, when we get into JavaScript, that's where we'll be writing our JavaScript. And I want you to know that one of the major reasons we put our JavaScript at the bottom part of our screen is simply because every of your HTML has to load first. I'm already introducing you bit by bit into JavaScript. Every of your content of your website has to load first before it loads your JavaScript. So sometimes you would see in some new code base, you have your JavaScript linking of your JavaScript at the header section, but you would have a keyword such as defer. So it's simply saying that the keyword that is there is simply saying that do not load my JavaScript yet until everything on my page has loaded. Then now load my JavaScript afterward. But it's just, instead of you using the defer keyword, it's just for you to just put it at the bottom part of your HTML, because all your website, your project is going to be read from top to bottom at every point in time. So let's continue, and we have done that. And once we save this, we are good to go. We are simply good to go. And you can see that there is if you don't want to stress yourself too much, you can just have like a starter template for Bootstrap. You want to copy this starter template, still the same thing that we have on our screen. It's still the same thing that we are also going to have right here. That is the number one way of using Bootstrap in your project. The number two way is by downloading it, which is also not a good approach. Simply because what if there is an update to Bootstrap after you have downloaded the whole project folder? Because you downloading this would mean that you have downloaded the whole Bootstrap project folder into your project. One of the main reasons why this is not good is simply because it would make your project folder very over bloated. There are so many unnecessary files that you don't need, that once you download this file, it's going to be embedded all day, and it's going to make your project folder over bloated. So you don't necessarily need that in your project folder. You don't need that in your project folder. What you simply need is the CDN. And another reason is simply why you don't need to download the project folder is simply because if an update has been made, if at a particular point in time there is an update made, let's say when you were building your project, you were using version 3.4.1, and there is now a major update to 5.0, 5.0.2. What you are simply going to do is, if there were some major changes, your project is actually going to lag. But if you were actually using the CDN link, you won't have to start doing some. Now you don't have to start deleting the existing file that you have on your project. What you just necessarily have to do is you just update the CDN link. And once you update the CDN link, it automatically works the same way, making you are also able to update your project folder faster, and your project still works optimally the way it should be. That is one of the two ways, and I always advise, it is better. And one of the benefits of you having to download the project folder is simply because if you don't have access to internet, that's another benefit. But on the long run, the benefit of you having to just use CDN always outweighs the benefit of downloading the whole project folder. And that about how to get started with Bootstrap. So the other third way is using like a package manager. That's if you're working with frameworks such as React, where you have to do npm install, and you have to install Bootstrap with npm install. So let's just get started with that, and we'll start building our project. And as you can see right here, we have like a script tag which we just added, like a style. I don't want to have like an external style sheet, so I just did this the way it should be. So, but For every other one, we would be using Bootstrap. So these are all the external styles that I'll be using, because Bootstrap does not, like I made mention earlier, Bootstrap is kind of rigid and it does not give us a lot of flexibilities like the way Tailwind is going to do. So the first thing we want to do right here is we want to build our navigation bar. So for our navigation bar, what we just have to do is we go to Bootstrap, we search for navigation, and we come into navigation here. No, not this kind of navigation card. We just search for navigation. So we can see nav and tab on navbar. You can see that everything I need, I just have to come here, I click on it, navbar, and I search for the one I want. So I search for the navbar that I want. And for the navbar that I want, I'm simply going to have let me just copy the first one. Let me copy this and we'll edit it to what we want. So let me copy this and paste this right here. So once I paste this navigation bar and I save it, let's go to our browser and see what we have. So I'm going to copy this. I'm just going to copy this URL. This is like our reference point. So this is going to be our reference point to what we have. So I have index.html. So as you can see, this is simply what we have, but this is not what we want. We are actually going to work around it to make it look exactly like what we want it to be. Let's now start editing it. The first thing I'm going to have is let's check what we have right here. We have like a background of nav dark. So let's go to Bootstrap colors also. Let me be sure if it was a Bootstrap color or. So you can see I have like a navigation dark style. So as you can see that you can also make use of both your normal CSS and your Bootstrap together. But one thing you just have to be sure of is that most of those styles are not conflicting. You're not using a Bootstrap name. You're not making use of a Bootstrap name on your own when you're defining your own custom style. That's one thing you just have to be sure of, that, oh, when I'm making use of Bootstrap, I'm not also defining my style name according to their own style name. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to do some editing right here, and it's going to be from BG light. I'm going to change our navigation navbar light to navbar dark. And I'm also going to change this to fixed up. That means once you are scrolling, if we check this, once you are scrolling, you can see that our navigation is automatically fixed to the top, basically. That's it. So we are actually going to do a fixed top. So let's save this. And you can also see, if you actually want to check for the colors on Bootstrap, you can actually just come here and see colors, and you will see the different kind of colors. Bootstrap just have 7 different kind of is it 7? 8 different kind of colors. Basically, these are the major 8 colors that Bootstrap has. That is why I had to simply do what I have to make use of my own custom colors when I was coming up with this website that we're actually going to be building. So they are, like I made mention of, Bootstrap is actually rigid and they don't give you flexibility to what you want. So let's continue. So I'm also making use of containers. So I'm just going to remove some of those things. So I'm just going to explain. So let me show you right here. So you can see. So what I'm simply doing here right here is there's a container which is also from Bootstrap. Bootstrap has a container on its own, which is also what I'm using. And I have like the A class, which is also for the link. And inside the A class, I'm going to add an icon. So I added the icon using this link, also a CDN link, and I'm using Font Awesome. So for you to be able to make use of Font Awesome in your project, you go to Font Awesome. You go to Font Awesome and you create an, I think you have to create an account. You have to create an account also. But if you have an account, if you don't have an account, the next thing you just have to do is you go to get icon pack, icon 7, and you go to new icon pack. Coming. I have an account, so I don't have to worry about doing all this. So once it gives me the CDN link. I'm not going pro. So you just do this, you do Font Awesome CDN. I think I use this Font Awesome CDN. So using Font Awesome CDN, you just have to copy the CDN URL. You copy the CDN URL. Once you input your email, it sends you a code that once you have sent the code, it gets to your this thing, to your email box, and you copy the CDN URL. And once you have copied the CDN URL, what you just have to do is you paste it into your project folder the same way I have done. And this also saves us a lot of time of having too many overbloated documents inside our project folder, basically. So I'm using Font Awesome right here, and this is how you embed an icon into your project. You just have the I and class, which is going to be this, and I just close it right here, and I have no, not here. I close this, and I have the class name is FAS FA-utensils. Let's copy it so you can see that we can get audio font from here basically. So let's just go to the icon itself. Let's go to the icon and search for it. Get started. Started for free, and so I'm just going to drop my email there once again. I have an account already. So I have an account. So I'm signing in. So I have some keys that I've actually pre-selected. So I just go to the icons and I select utensils. Utensils, close. I select utensils and it gives me this. I'm going to select from this icon pack that I have. So this is the one I am selecting. So I just copy this. And I paste it directly into my project right here. Instead of me having to write this manually, I just paste it right here. And this should give me what I want. And the next thing I just have to copy out is Ctrl Z. I just have to change the name to Bella's Vista. So let's save this and see what we have. So this is what we have currently. We have Bella's Vista. That's the first thing we want. And let's continue. So I'm just going to go right and copy our URL. So I'm just going to copy this. I'm just going to copy this from the button. It's going to actually take a long time to type this. So I'm just going to copy this and explain. So these are all buttons from Bootstrap. And you can see we have the button here also. I'm just going to copy this out, this session. I don't need this other div session. So I'm going to paste this right here. And you can see this button that is right here is simply for the navigation, the hamburger navigation that we have on the project, on the website rather. So once I save this, I have to copy this out also because I don't have duplicate of it. So once we save this, and we would have replica of what we want. So once we move to a mobile screen, you can see it's 100% responsive. That is one of the benefits of Bootstrap. It makes your work very responsive and easy to build. In most cases, what you just have to do is copy the component, bring it to what you want, bring it into your project, and you just have to edit it to fit what you want at that particular point in time, and you are good to go. you are simply good to go without any obstruction, as you can see. So this, if not because I was explaining, I could have done this in like 5 minutes and I've moved on to the next session of what I want to do. Do we understand? Am I making sense? Am I making sense, guys?
You are,
Yes,
sir,
sir.
but little bit fast.
Yeah, I know I'm going to run at the speed of light because I don't want to have like a carryover. Because by the next class, I'm going to talk about Tailwind CSS. That's why I know I'm a bit fast. I know I'm a bit fast. So you just have to bear with me. So what is that makes your Chrome? It's called Mobile Simulator. Adam Afis. It's called Mobile Simulator. Every front-end developer has to have that extension. It's called Mobile Simulator. So you can actually use it to, if you are working on any project, you can actually simulate your screen to go to a mobile device and stuff like that. So let's continue. So the next session that we'll be working on now is the hero session. And as you can see, for hero session, we have this. This is what we have on our hero session. So let's continue. So for our hero session, I'm just going to type that out. So I have like a session, and I have an ID. So my ID is simply because I want to target I want to target I'm going to target that session on the long run, fast hero session. I'm going to use that as a navigation. So once you click on the home page, once you click on the hero session, once you click on the navigation right here, once you click on this navigation and you're somewhere down here, once you click on this navigation, it automatically scrolls, or once you click on the home page here, it automatically scrolls to the top right here. That is what the ID is doing basically. So you can actually scroll in and out of every page from your navigation bar. That's why I'm using the ID right there. So I have a class of hero session, which I have a class also defined up here called hero session. So you can see I have a class up here defined as hero session. So let's continue. We have a class defined as hero session. And the next thing we'll be having is also a container. So that for responsiveness, the best thing you just have to do is use a container, class of container. Have a container, and you would have like a row, a div called, no, let me use a shortcut, a row. If you have the row, the next thing we have to do is you have to call on your responsive grid. So let's go back to, for responsiveness, let's go to our grid column. So as you can see on my slide here, I was talking about responsive grid. So for the fluid system, for the grid system for Bootstrap, is actually a 12-column grid that we always have. But at some point, you have to make it, if you want to make your website actually responsive, you have to make full use of the grid system of Bootstrap. So let's go to the documentation. Let's go to grid. And why is it not showing up? Grid system. So I'm actually going to be using, this is the normal grid. I'm actually going to be using a grid called 8. I'm actually going to be using grid large 8. That is 8-column grid. Out of 12, divide our screen into 8. So it's going to be an 8-column grid. I know you can still remember the calculation we had from our previous grid session, which I'm still owing you guys a demo, like a total practical session. And I hope I have the time to actually record that also. But let's continue. So I have the .call-lg-8, and I have an x, that is margin x. So margin, for your margin, if you want to make use of margin in Bootstrap, it's called mx. So margin, let's come here, margin and padding. You can see margin stands for M. Margin stands for M, display utilities. Why are you space utilities? Margin stands for M, and P stands for padding. So you have margin top, margin C, that's for margin top, margin B, that's for margin bottom. You have margin S, that's for margin left or padding left. So you have margin E, that's for margin right, but you have margin X, that is for left and right, that's for both padding left and padding right, or margin left and padding right. So if you just use margin Y, that is for top and bottom, and if you just use M or P, that is for the all four corners, use the same use the margin that you're defining. So I want it to be an automatic margin, so I'm just going to be MX auto, that means to the left and right, give it an MX auto. So that's that. So I have an H1. And for our class, I'm also going to give it a display of -4 MB-4, that's margin bottom of 4. And I'm going to, that's all. And I'm going to have, let me copy the text from here. Let me copy the text. Welcome to Vista. Welcome to Vista. So I paste this right here, and let me save this and see what we have currently. As you can see, we have welcome to Vista. So this background color is actually not from Bootstrap. The background color is not actually from Bootstrap. The background color is what I have defined up here. This is actually my background color, not what is up there. Please don't be confused. That is my background color. I didn't get it from Bootstrap. Bootstrap does not give us the flexibility to do such a thing. Actually, we have to come up with that by ourselves. So let's continue. So we have welcome to Vista. So the next thing we have is our p text. Let me copy our p text from here. Let me copy our p text also from here. So I'm not copying just the text, so I'm just going to write out everything. Control C, and we have P with our dot led MB4. So I have another style called led up there. So let's search for this. So that's from Bootstrap. So we can select not a div, actually a p text. So I should have added a p right there. And once I paste this here, we are good to go. That's for the hero session. And if you go to a mobile screen also, you can see that it is automatically responsive. That's the beauty of this. It's automatically responsive. And let's also work on our button. So let's go to Bootstrap and copy a button component. Let's just copy the button group. So let's copy a button, not all this, not this, just button in itself, buttons. So let's copy one of these two buttons. We'll just copy two buttons basically. Let's copy which one of them. Let's check what we have here. We have this menu, we have make a reservation. It looks like there's a custom class there also. So let's actually work with that. So inside here, we would come here, we have our A tag. That's going to be A-href hash menu. So that's going to direct us to our menu section, and we have a class of BTN. So like that's the normal class. That's the class name for Bootstrap, BTN. And we have BTN-primary. And we have BTN-LG, ME-3. And what we have here is view menu. I want to save this and see what we have. This is what you have, and you can see I've actually customized it. So for BTN, let's see. You will see I've actually defined our own BTN class here, but also Bootstrap also has its own BTN class. Bootstrap is not going to give us something like this. but you will see it has BTN primary, but I have actually defined that already. So it's actually overriding what we have. So let's continue. But if you just want to make use of Bootstrap on itself for the other session, which is actually make a reservation, I'm actually going to copy this. Let me make use of the light. Let me make use of the light one here. Let me make use of the light one right here. Let me make use of the light one. Sorry for that. Let me make use of this light one and copy this and paste this. And paste this right here. So we have the button light, but I'm still going to modify it also. So I'm going to give it, and I'm going to just call it make a reservation. Reservation. So, but it's not looking like what we have on this end. Basically, it's not looking like this. So I'm actually going to tweak it a bit. So we have the button class of BTN. Sorry, let me remove this type of button. BTN, and it's going to be dash outline light. Then we have a BTN dash LG. We have, and let's save and see what we have. So this is simply, no, that's not our page. This is simply what we have. As you can see, it looks 100% alike. It looks 100% alike with the little animation that is right there, as you can see. So I think we are done with that session. So we have to now go to our story session, which is the About Us session. So the About Us session is a bit long because we have so many texts to write, but the first point for the About Us session is we are going to have this. So let's just have a session, and we call it About Us. Call it ID, about, and we call it, we have given it a class of ky5 dash 5, that's a padding to the left and right, a padding to the top and bottom rather, and we have a div, we call it class container, we have a div, also the same process of having a row, that's also what we're going to use to give it a class of row, and we have align item, align item dash center. So let's save and see what we have. We don't have anything yet, basically, but we already have a session for that. So let's continue. And we have our call span 6 dot, that's going to be just call dash LG6, that's on a light screen, should be 6 column. And we have, let me copy our text right here. Let me copy our text. No, not our text yet. So we have, it should be a div. It should be a div, sorry. It should be a div. And call LG6. We have our H2. That's going to be class of section title, section dash title. And we have text of our story. Paste that right here, our story, and that's the first one. So what we are simply doing is we're actually dividing this into two, basically. So the next line there is going to be our, so we actually, the next line is going to be our story, that's this text. So this is quite long. So I'm just going to copy both of them from this end. So it gives me, I think we understand there's nothing serious here. That's why I'm just going to copy this and paste it right here. There's nothing serious going on here. So anything that looks different, I'm actually going to explain that. So let's save that and see. So you can see we are having this, unless is that coming together as what we want? Yes, basically. So now let's continue to the next session. So we have p tag, and the next thing we would have our icons. So for the icons, we have the row, the item, and so let me just define the div for that before we continue. Let me do Ctrl A and Z, so I just have a proper breakpoint. And we have a div of class row, and I have an empty -4. That means imagine top of 4, and I'm going to have like a div. I'm going to have a div dot call dash sm dash 4, and I have text center dash center, and for that I'm just going to copy this. I'm going to copy the text that is inside, so I don't have to spend much time on that. So I just copy the text that is inside here and I paste it inside this. And after I've done that, I'm just going to duplicate the screen one after the other. So what I simply did here was there is an icon and a text, and I made use of FE icon, which is from Font Awesome. And let me just duplicate this. Let me duplicate this 3 times. So 3, and the next one is going to be, let me copy the next one from here. I'm just going to copy the text inside, which is what we would be working with. So this, and let me copy the last one also. And we have this. So we paste this right here, and we are actually done with this session. It looks very simple and very easy. So if we go to a responsive screen size, it is automatically responsive without us having to even write media query, basically. So that is how Bootstrap can be very, very easy and effective. So if we go to our navigation and we just click on About Us, it scrolls into the About Us section. If we click on the home page, it also scrolls back into the home page section. So guys, according to what I've done so far, do you have a glimpse of Bootstrap? Do you understand Bootstrap?
Yes, I understand. We just need to read this documentation.
Yeah, actually, that's why I said Bootstrap is majorly about reading. I'll tell you, I'll also just give you an hint. Over like, let me say, it's been like 2 years or 3 years plus now that I've actually made use of Bootstrap last. Bootstrap is, another thing is, I just have to tell you is that Bootstrap is not really common in the industry. Bootstrap is still common, but not so common. Not so common, but Tailwind has already taken over the industry. But you can't actually just put aside Bootstrap. Bootstrap is still recognized in the industry. People still make use of Bootstrap here and there, but currently you won't necessarily see any, will I call it, any job application saying Bootstrap. People now prefer Tailwind over Bootstrap. But having a Bootstrap knowledge is still an easy to know, because when you get into your project phase, there's going to be a project phase, a capstone project phase for you guys at the end of the boot camp. You guys will have to build. And let me give you guys an heads up right from now on. Your product designers are going to take a bit of time coming up with their designs. And the bulk of load is now going to fall on you guys, front-end developers, to come up with your product as soon as possible. So the fastest way to actually come up with any design they give you is actually making use of Bootstrap and also Tailwind CSS. Tailwind CSS, you don't need to be defining external styles also. Everything is just going to be written inline. And that's what makes it very, very beautiful also. It makes it very, very beautiful. So just have an heads up. It's either as a team, if you're on any team, you decide, okay, it is Bootstrap you want to use so that you guys can just copy and paste the components. And another thing that is there is, I would always tell my students to always work smart. To always work smart and not work hard. In some cases, I've done it before. What you simply just have to do is you just go to Bootstrap website and search for a Bootstrap template. I don't want you guys to do this for your tax. If you copy and paste the Bootstrap template for me, I would know. I'm just giving you an heads up. If you go to Bootstrap website and copy a template and give it to me as your tax that I'm going to give to you, I would know, simply because there are some things that I would know that you can't understand in a particular Bootstrap. I'm not boasting, but because Bootstrap is not widely used, if you copy a Bootstrap template, there are some things I would see while going through your code, and I will know that, oh, this is from a Bootstrap template. If I give you a tax, I'm not looking for 100% accuracy. No, I want you to just understand it. That's it. So, but for your project fees, so you guys can move faster, the simple thing you just have to do is go to Bootstrap, just go online and search for Bootstrap templates, and you just download the template and you can work with it. You can just tweak it to what you want, basically. But if you're also okay, I don't want to tweak it to what I want. I want to actually make use of, I actually want to understand what I'm doing. You can now start building it from scratch, basically. That's it. So let's continue. We were at the about us session. So after the about us session, the next thing we just have is just an image by the side. And I'm using, for what we did previously, I'm actually using an SVG. So I have an SVG icon that I was using. So what I just have to do is, that's actually so long. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this SVG icon. I just going to copy this SVG icon and paste it right outside. I'm going to paste this right outside here. So that's to have its own div on its own. So paste this right here and I save it. So let's check what we have. And as you can see, we have the same thing. And once we go to a responsive screen design, it is also responsive. So far, does anyone have any question before I go into the next session, which is actually the menu session? And I think that's where I'm going to draw the curtain for today. Does anyone have any question? And I think for that menu session, because I'm actually going to be working with a component called card. Does anyone have any question?
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Thank you very much. I do not really have any question pertaining to the present class. I've been having problem with our issue with the LMS. I don't know if I've been following the class blindly.
You have been having issues with what? I can't hear. Your voice is kind of muffled.
Oh, okay, sorry. I said I've been having problem with LMS. I've not been able to submit any task so far. But I've not done with
did you pick KodeCamp 5.0 when you were registering?
Yes, I did actually.
Okay. Are you on your system?
I'm on my system presently.
Okay, just towards the end of the class, when I'm done with the class, I'm going to ask you to share your screen so I can know where the issue is coming from.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, just stay put to the end of the class. So in like 20-30 minutes, I should be wrapping up. So I'm going to ask you to share your screen.
All right, thank you very much.
Yeah, all right. So let's continue and let's go to the to the menu section. So for the menu section, I'm also going to have like a section. I'm going to have a menu that's going to be hash menu. That's going to be hash menu. Why is this not working? So I'm going to have a section. It's going to be class ID of menu. It's going to be class of py-5 and bg-light. So I'm also going to have like a container p-class container. I'm going to have like an h2. I'm going to have h2. Which is going to be class of, let me check, session title. Session title. I'm also going to have text center, which is also a class on Bootstrap. That's all I'm going to have, and I'm going to have our menu. Sorry, please, whose mic is unmuted? So I'm going to have our menu, and let's save and see what we have. So why is it not showing up yet? Why is our menu not showing up? Have I not saved it? Oh, sorry, I didn't save. So let's see. And we have our menu right there. So let's continue. So I have an image. So I have this image. So let me just copy. No, before I copy that, let me do something. I have an image right there. So I'm going to have the row. I'm going to have those row. I'm also going to have the dot call dash lg dash 4 mb dash 4. So dot call dash lg dash 4. So I'm going to have mb dash 4. So I'm going to have a card. I'm going to have a card. I'm going to have menu item. Menu dash item. And that's where I'm now going to copy this icon. Let me copy this image. I want to copy this image. I want to copy this image. So once I copy this image, paste it right here, and I just go with, oh, sorry, I text it, right? Control Z, and I would copy the body card. So there is something called a card element in Bootstrap. Let's go to card element. So you have the card. So according to, this is the kind of card I'm using. This particularly, this is the card component I am using. So if you copy this, it's actually, if you look at the card, but I'm not using the width in between. So I have just the card and I have a menu item directly right there. And the next thing I have is the card body. So I'm just going to copy this card body from Bootstrap. So once you copy all that, it has everything embedded inside. So I have the card body. So you have the card body, you have the card title, and which is also right there, card title, card text, and I have the button, which is also add to cart. And once we take that out, it's actually what we have. And yes, I'm just going to replicate this in 3 different places according to what we have. I'm just going to replicate that. So is it 3 different places or 4 different places? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm just going to replicate that in 3 different places. Let's replicate that in 3 different places. And oh, sorry. Let's replicate that in 3 different places. And let me just replicate this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So let's see what we have. We have this is it's more than, so let me just 1, 2. So let's save and see what we have. So we have 6, and this is just one card gives us this. I don't want to start changing the text one after the other, but let me actually just do that. Let me just, since I have it right here, so this is going to be the other one from the image down to this. So let's go to the second one. I hope I don't make a mistake because this actually confused me a lot. But there's nothing to worry. I'm going to get it fixed. So let's see and see what we have. We have a pizza, margarita pizza. Let's also copy the next one, which is going to be this. It actually looks scattered. So that's how I'm actually careful. So I'm going to explain what I'm actually doing. So you can see that there is an icon, there's an image. So I'm actually using something like an SVG image. So for you not to make it look scattered, this is simply what I'm actually going to do. I'm actually going to make everything be a straight line. So the image has some kind of long text right there. The image has like a long text right there. That is it. So that's why it makes it look like it's scattered. So, but it's not scattered. It's like the image I actually just broke the image down to make it look compact. So I don't have to start scrolling. That's why it looks like that. So this is what we have currently. So we have margarita pasta, and the other one is salad. Coming. Okay, let's copy this. Paste it right here. So this is the third one. Okay, we have actually worked with that. So let's check and see. We have salad, and the fourth one is going to be this. So the fourth one is going to be this. So I think I'm just going to stop at the fourth one and move on to the next session. So we understand what's going on here. So basically, that's what that matters most. So, and yes, we have our tiramisu, and the next session, according to what we have right here, is what our customers are saying, and it's also going to be the same approach that I used for. It's also going to be the same approach, the card session approach that is actually going to be used for this also. So I'm just going to copy it from the test and from what we have right here and just paste it right and explain what is going on here. So there's nothing serious. I will say there's nothing serious going on at this session. It's just normal style guide and just using flex. So I'm going to pick it from here and just explain it one after the other. I'm just going to explain each line one after the other. And we have it right here. So let's see, and let me now explain what I actually just copied and pasted right here. So as you all know, we have the session, which is what we have actually been using, and the div and the ID. We have the container, which is for responsiveness. We have the session title, which is our predefined style. We have the rule. We also have a column. We have a column LG for them is on a large screen. It has to be on 4 different columns. And we have a star. We have a testimonial, which is 1, 2, and 3. So, normally our column is actually 4, or our column is actually 12 on a large screen. So once we get to this session, we should simply do what? Divide it into 4. We should simply divide it into 4. So that means we divide it into 3. That is 4 column, 4 column, 4 column. Then on a large screen, on a smaller screen, it becomes 1. And the only difference that we had here was we used a display flex, which is the deflex and align item center. And that is what we have on our screen currently. So as you can see, we made use of the display flex for this session, and that is what we have. Do we all understand? And I think this is where we are going to stop while I pick responses to other questions. Does anyone have any question? Does anyone have any question? Yeah, so I think you guys are going to have a task today. By tomorrow, another task is going to be dropped, and it's going to be based on what you guys have been doing. And let me just give you an hint. I think I'm going to ask you guys to build something responsive. I don't know yet. I've not decided on the task I want to give you yet, but it's going to be something responsive, and you guys will to make your work faster and easier, you just have to incorporate Bootstrap. That's the simple logic behind it. You just have to incorporate Bootstrap and you are good to go. And I'm sure it's actually going to be a very easy task. Since I've spoken about how easy it is to work with Bootstrap, and you can also just make use of that approach. So, no, Musa, you can't get a tax. You can't get a tax. You have to be promoted to the next stage before you get the tax. You have to be promoted to the next stage so you can see the tax on your dashboard, basically. That's it. Yeah, you can. I think IK would drop the recording almost immediately after the class. So you can be rest assured that before the end of today, the video is going to be the class recording is going to be dropped. So thank you very much, guys, and see you